Hey guys, this is Brian Mouth with Turf Mechanic. I've got a patch of grass in my backyard that I need to kill off. I need to kill everything in the area, but I don't want to use glyphosate. I don't want to use Roundup. Many of you guys don't want to use Roundup for a variety of reasons. Some of you guys can't even get Roundup. So let's go to the backyard. I'm going to show you the patch, but just to give you a little bit of a teaser, I'm going to be using something called Glufosinate, found in a product called X Out. You can scrub to this video or go down in the video description or just jump onto Google and search my name, Turf Mechanic, Roundup Alternatives, and you're going to be able to find that product and a few others that use non-selective herbicides that will work for this purpose. All right, here I am in my backyard. This is the dog kennel. Let me pan back and get the sun into a better spot. Here you go. This is our dog kennel. We don't keep the dogs in here very often, which is why they haven't killed the grass, but whenever we need to put them back here, I want to have a nice spot for them. And the grass that you see back here is not good grass. There's a bunch of weeds, and most of the grass back here is common Kikuyugrass. I live here in Southern California. This is a common grass type that grows way too fast, way too gangly, and it produces ridiculous amounts of stolons that creep out across the ground. Here's an example of one single Kikuyugrass stolon that is creeping out from the side of the house out onto the patio, and it's just searching for dirt. It can't find it, so it just grows like crazy long. Gross. Kikuyugrass is very difficult to kill, so it's going to take a couple applications of anything. So I am going to use the X Out product using glufosinate, and I'm going to mix in a surfactant into the product. The surfactant is going to help the active ingredient coat the leaf surface better so that it absorbs more of the herbicide and dies more efficiently. Now I've got to get my dogs out of the area, and I'll have to close up the fence so that they don't come back in here for the next couple days. But I can't apply it to the grass when it's wet. And you'll also notice that this grass is heavily overgrown, like extremely overgrown. You don't want to mow it before you do this. If you mow it, then you don't have as much leaf surface to spray the X Out on. By having really overgrown grass, it becomes much easier to kill everything off. I'll go ahead and spray later in the afternoon after everything is dry, because right now I still have morning dew on the grass. And then roughly 3 to 4 days later, I'm going to cut everything short. That way all of the grass starts dying, but everything under, like the undergrowth that my spray tank isn't going to be able to hit, is going to become exposed, so that within 2 weeks, when I come back to spray a second time, all of the undergrowth that never got hit the first time will be easily hit the second time. Wilson, come here. Come here, boy. Okay, you're Chase. You're not Wilson, but thank you for coming. Come on, Wilson. Come on, big guy. Yeah. In the past, I've recommended having one tank and cleaning it out after you use products like this. However, these tanks are so cheap that I have joined the camp of I just use one single tank, this guy, my Field King, anytime I use a non-selective herbicide. That way I never have to worry about having residual product in the tank, and I don't have to stock tank cleaner or have to go through that process. You don't have to use this brand, it's just a non-selective herbicide. Just go find whatever you have in your local hardware store. It probably isn't going to cost you more than about 20-30 bucks. With any and all herbicides that you use, you should always look at the label. The label can be confusing, it can take a long time for you to look at it, so make sure to take this label with you to the toilet next time you go poo, because it takes a bit. Here on page 17, we're doing spot application for technically not broadleaf weeds. I'm using this to kill some grasses. Here you got annual bluegrass, bahia, Bermuda grass, crabgrass, Dallas grass, fescue, KBG, ryegrass. Interestingly enough, the grass that I want to kill is not listed here, but that's just because it's not common. It's not a commonly found grass across the United States. So this product will also kill Kikuyugrass. Needless to say, it's important to know what grass you have and what weeds you're trying to kill. But with a non-selective herbicide, it's going to kill pretty much everything. But for established mature grasses, we're going to come down here into the broadcast application. It says apply 56 fluent ounces per acre when the weed height or diameter is less than It doesn't say less than, it means up here, 6 inches tall. And it says apply 80 fluid ounces per acre when the weed height is greater than 8. So I've got mature grass that is overgrown. Also, I know that Kikuyugrass is very difficult to kill, so I'm going to use this 80 fluid ounces per acre. Well, what the heck does that mean for a lawn? An acre is something like 43,000 square feet. So if you divide 80 by 43, you're going to get roughly 1.8 ounces of this product for every 1,000 square feet of lawn space. I'm going to mix that product into 1 gallon of water, and then I'll have enough mixture to spray 1,000 square feet. Now, my area over there is only about 300 square feet, so I'm going to be able to spray the whole area once and then leave the stuff in the tank and come back and spray it a second time. Plus, I'll have a little bit of residual or extra product in the tank to spot spray other weeds and unwanted grasses on the fringe areas of my property, the stuff that I don't want. So essentially, I mix it up once, use what I need now, come back 2 weeks later to use the rest of it to polish off the area. At that point, then I can start putting down my desirable turf grass, which in this case is going to be a turf type tall fescue, but for you, it will be different. As I mentioned before, you have to use a surfactant. And by that, I mean you don't have to, but it makes no sense to not use it. If you're going to go ahead and mix up a batch of Roundup or X out, you want it to actually work. So yeah, it's gonna work without the surfactant, but it's gonna work like twice as good with the surfactant. Considering the fact that this is such a cheap product that you can buy at just any local hardware store, just buy some. Now, I've used this product before in other videos. I'm going to link to those down in the description below, but this is not the only product or brand that uses glufosinate as its active ingredient. There are other alternatives to Roundup. You can always just Google Turf Mechanic Roundup alternatives and you find the list that I put together for you. This product specifically will be linked down in the description below. Last I checked, it was very easily found at Walmart. Now, surfactants, you could measure it out, but I tend to just estimate roughly an ounce per gallon. All right, so everything along the fence line is obviously going to die. I only sprayed the fence line because it's the only thing that's dry. I actually used a leaf blower to make sure that everything was as dry as possible. That way I could spray everything down. I don't personally care so much about overspray on this side of the fence because ultimately I'm going to be transitioning this grass away from kikuyu into fescue as well. But I need to have the dogs to be able to run the whole yard while I do a renovation in the dog kennel. So a little bit of overspray over here is fine, but I don't want to kill everything. Otherwise I just have a big muddy yard for months on end. I'm going to leave the product here in the tank. I'm going to wait for the rest of the grass over here to dry off. The X out is rain fast in 4 hours, which means after about 4 hours, it's not wet on the leaves anymore. It's been absorbed in. At that point, I can walk over it, and I probably, need to make sure that I keep my shoes clean, but I can walk over it without messing up the application. That way I can walk along the fence line and spray the grass back under the palms. All right, a whole 48 hours have passed. I got a haircut, I trimmed my beard up. Let's go take a look at the grass before I cut it down. You look at the label on the glufosinate, it tells you that you shouldn't be cultivating it for like at least 5 days or so. I'm not cultivating it, we're just mowing it. After about 2 days, plenty of the herbicide will have translocated down into the root system and start killing the plant off from the bottom up. Right now, we just got all this extra top growth. I want to get rid of it. That way we can uncover the undergrowth so that, about 12 days from now, we can spray it one more time to polish the whole thing off. At that point, that's when we can put seed down. At least that's what I'm going to put seed down. Dogs have not been in the kennel for a couple days. How long is it safe for them to, or how long should they be away from the grass to be safe? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not an expert in that specifically, but I just follow label instructions. I try to err on the side of caution. The dogs have not been here for a couple days. They're still not going to be here for at least a couple more, even though it's probably safe for them to be here. As you can see, after 48 hours, nothing appears to be dying. And that is completely normal. You just got to trust the process. Everything here is dying. Over here, things look dead, but it's actually not. It's just because I scalped it down with a lawnmower. So all of this green is sitting on top of the brown that you see over here. Completely unrelated video. I'm not even sure if I'm making a video about that. But once I scalp this down, I'm going to scalp this as low as I possibly can. This is actually going to end up looking worse than this, even though it looks fantastic now. We just got to get rid of all of the green. So to do this right, you kind of gonna start your lawnmower on a higher setting and then drop it down. So I'm gonna mow it like, I don't know, 2-3 times as I bring it down. That way I can properly bag everything. It's just gonna mow better. Like that, my bag's full. You gotta stop to empty the bag, otherwise it's gonna stop bagging. You can start mulching it onto the ground, which is not what you necessarily want. Now, since I sprayed herbicide on this, I don't want to put this in my compost pile because I don't want it to eventually make it into the garden. So I'm just going to put this in the brown bin and use clean grass clippings for my compost and garden work. Yeah, it looks a lot better. It's actually still cut pretty high. So I'm gonna go in here with a rake and try to rake up some of the stolons, some of the things that are just laying flat on the ground, rake them up, and then I'll come back over probably in the next day or two and continue cutting this shorter and shorter. I'll have to weed whack the edge here to get everything away from the fence line also. All right, here I am 14 days later. It's been a full 16 days since I sprayed the dog kennel. Of course, I cut all the excess grass growth down and it looks pretty dead, doesn't it? There's actually still some green in there. Let me go show you up close. All right, stepping inside the dog kennel, I had to do some digging here for an irrigation line, so don't mind that. But as you can see, it looks like I missed a few things. I think these little green things were covered up by this board. I don't know why I didn't think to move the board, but especially back here, I didn't want to get too close to the tree, so I'm going to do some hand pulling. Typically, glyphosate and glufosinate and non-selective herbicides, they don't get absorbed into trunk tissues of trees. Don't quote me on that. I'm not an arborist, but I tend to try to stay away from trees as best as I can. It also looks like I just didn't even get this spot. Didn't even get it, so I'm going to have to hit that again. But as we get in really close to the grass, you see like areas like this. I mean, that's just largely full kill, except for, you see that? There's still just a touch of green in there, touches of green here and there. There's one on the ground that's still green. So a lot of this is starting to come back. In fact, that's like full on new growth right there. So whatever that is, that might be a Bermuda grass, but that's going to be coming back. Sprinkled throughout here, there's green all over by some dog poo right there. That didn't grow. I have to pick that up. But you can see there's green all over the place in here. Not a ton, but if I don't spray it one more time, all of this green is just going to keep on growing and turn right back into a lawn again. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and spray again, just as I had planned. I would always plan on spraying twice, regardless. Even if I was using Roundup, I'd probably spray twice. It's almost impossible to get a full kill on an entire lawn space in one application. I've never done it. I've never seen it happen. So I'm going to go ahead and spray again. and then I'm going to put seed down. I'm going to put seed down on the exact same day. That might not apply to you, but it certainly applies to me. I want to get good grass growing here as soon as possible. Remember, I've got links to Roundup alternatives linked in the description below. You can always Google turf mechanic, whatever you want, and you're probably going to find a list. In this case, Googling turf mechanic, Roundup alternatives, glyphosate alternatives, you're going to find the list regardless of this video description. And again, this is not the first time I've ever used glufosinate. I've used it before, and I made an entire video about the process. I'll link to it up here in the corner, but more importantly, in the lower corner, a shorter video than this, all about the concept of how to kill grass more efficiently using products like glufosinate, like glyphosate, and some of the others. Product links are in the description below, but watch one of these videos if you think they apply to you.